Morning light sliced through the heavy curtains, catching the dust motes as they spiraled toward the floor. Elena moved with practiced rhythm, her rag tracing slow, deliberate circles across the marble. She did not look up. At the head of the mahogany table, the parents sat in rigid silence, the sharp clink of silver against porcelain the only sound. Julian entered, his footsteps heavy and purposeful. He crossed the room, his gaze sliding past his parents to fix on Elena. The mother leaned forward, her voice a thin, precise blade. "She is just a worker, Julian. Do not get too close." Julian pulled his chair back, the wood scraping harshly. "You see a worker," he replied, his voice steady. "I see a person." The room went cold. The father stopped mid-chew, his fork hovering halfway to his plate. Julian sat, his posture unyielding. Elena paused in the doorway, her hand gripping the frame, before she slipped into the shadows of the hallway. The garden air was thick, clinging to the skin like a damp shroud. Elena stood by the stone fountain, the water trickling in a monotonous rhythm that did nothing to soothe the tightness in her chest. She pressed both hands firmly against her stomach, her breath coming in shallow, jagged gasps that she fought to keep silent. Every rustle of leaves sounded like an intruder. She stared at the moss-covered stones, her shoulders trembling with the weight of what she had to say. The crunch of gravel behind her shattered the stillness. She flinched, spinning around, her eyes wide and darting toward the mansion windows. Julian stood on the path, his expression shifting from curiosity to concern as he saw her state. She looked down, unable to meet his gaze, her voice barely a whisper. "I did not plan this," she said, the words catching in her throat. "I am so sorry." Julian moved forward, closing the distance between them in 2 long strides. He reached out, covering her shaking hands with his own. The evening air in the living room was stagnant, heavy with the scent of polished wood and old paper. Elena stood near the center of the rug, her head bowed, her focus fixed on the intricate patterns beneath her feet. The silence was absolute, until the father stood. He moved to the coffee table and slammed a leather-bound ledger down. The sound cracked through the room like a gunshot, echoing off the high ceilings. The father pointed a trembling finger at the pages, his face darkening. "You got the maid pregnant? This is shameful." The mother surged to her feet, her chair skidding backward across the floor. Her face was flushed, eyes wide with a cold, sharp fury that seemed to fill every corner of the space. She stepped toward Elena, tears tracked thin, visible lines through the dust on her cheeks, but she did not look up. The mother gestured toward the door with a sharp, dismissive movement. "She must leave this house today." The father paced the small perimeter of the rug, his shadow looming over Elena, his breathing ragged and loud. Julian stepped between them, his posture rigid, his gaze locked on his father. The father loomed, his shadow stretching across the floor to touch Elena's feet. He pointed toward the front door, his voice vibrating with cold authority. "Choose your family or that girl." The silence that followed was thick, suffocating, and absolute. Julian did not blink. He did not look back at the life he had known. He walked across the room, his boots clicking sharply against the marble, each step a deliberate severance of ties. He stopped beside Elena. He reached out, taking her hand, and interlaced his fingers with hers. Julian looked his father directly in the eye, his jaw set. "I choose love," he declared. "Money did not make me a man, but standing by her will." The parents froze. Their expressions shifted from raw fury to stunned, hollow disbelief. Elena looked up, her eyes wide. The parents stood motionless, their faces drained of color as the reality of the moment took hold. Elena looked up at Julian, her fingers tightening within his. "You do not have to do this," she murmured. Julian pulled her closer, his gaze fixed firmly on the grand entrance. "I am not doing it for you," he said. "I am doing it for us." He turned, guiding her toward the threshold. Their boots clicked in unison against the marble, toward the heavy oak doors. They stepped out of the mansion, leaving the cold silence behind. The door swung shut, sealing the room away. Outside, the air was different. They walked forward together, moving toward a future of their own making.